Number 10. Oh, do not ask me what and when. With blazing sword and snow-white steed, like a flaming comet in tremendous speed, shall hit the earth and wipe it clean. Ushering the newborn Mahayog in. I've used this Buddhist story, the Mahabharata tale, and the comet thing, juxtapose them together into a kind of a narrative, right? Just one more, just two more, and just one, the last one. It's called the snake story. It's also a story, and it's a narrative story, and it's a different version of the Genesis. It will take just about 5 to 10 minutes, right? Is it all right? The snake, dear friends, is a curious creature. For no fault of its own, it has assumed the satanic form of a tempter and seducer, leading to the fall from a state of spiritual grace into a state of bodily lowliness. But there is an ancient twist in the tale that gives the snake its due and proper justice. Interestingly, it's a women's version embedded in the folk imagination, working on the creation myth. Barring the phallic symbolism and the snake's preference for the dark and moist pits and holes of the netherworld, I cannot find any plausible rhyme or reason for this curious tendency to equate the snake with sexuality and bodily damnation and punishment. But here, as we sit under the ramparts of this medieval fort built by Akbar, on the banks of the confluence of two powerful rivers, I can see a snake, a huge cobra, peep out from the tangled boughs of the ancient Akshay Wat, as it curls around the solid stones of this grand structure built to defend a civilized city from the onslaughts of savage, marauding enemies. And interestingly, it was a snake, whose body was used for the churning of the milk ocean as nectar and poison got separated. And does not this earth, even as it rotates, rest precariously on the head of the vast Sheshnag? So before my tale snakes around some more mythical oddities, let me bind you within the rhymed coils of a folk version of an ancient creation myth. It will tell you how the snake came to dwell simultaneously in the deadly depths of the netherworld and the heavenly heights of Shiv's entangled curls and Parvati's peaks. So let me chant the creation myth. Having deceived Adi Shakti out of her lust and reducing her to ashes and dust, Mahadev revived Brahma and Vishnu. From their ashes back into their shapes they grew. From the remains of Adi Shakti's powers he drew 3 feminine forms they could easily subdue. For Adi Shakti's powerful sexuality had scared this primal male trinity. Well then, to cut a long story short, they proceeded to create, each with his consort, the various worlds, birds, beasts, insects, humans, devils, gods of all sorts. And finally, when the entire job was done, they were summoned to an assembly one by one, and Mahadev delivered his famous sermon. Children, you will not suffer hunger or thirst, nor after each other will you obscenely lust. The fruits, flowers, trees I give in full trust. Plundering and feasting will bring death and disease, and happy eternity will forever cease. Here there is a chorus of Vivek, like in the Jatra. Oh, when will eternity burst into time? Is the release of pent-up desires a crime? What a curse it is to be caught in your prime, in a web of abstinence and fasting sublime. Let me take a little break from the creation story to ponder on Shiv's sermon. Of course, he forbade eating fruits, plucking flowers, and felling trees, or eating each other. But did he forbid sexual indulgence? Maybe the symbolic subtext behind the containing of hunger and the consuming instinct does hint at sexual control. Well, today when we look at what is happening all around, Mahadev's words certainly hold deep meaning, and there was ominous foreboding. But what I do not understand was, why was the snake singled out of all the creatures to drive the point home, and in several cultures? But let us continue with the story and the chant, and maybe the answer lies right there. Unfortunately, the hen laid an egg, soft and round. The snake eyed it from the hole in the ground, felt a desire in his blood, strong, sure and sound, to lick it and suck it, his tongue forked around. But Mahadev's sermon lurked in the background. Poor chap, he recoiled back to the soft coils from which the head had risen like a lunging foil. Back he went to an uneasy serenity. The egg was a tempting serendipity that refused to vanish from his mental faculty. Off he slid in a zigzagged course. The Devs he engaged in a complex discourse. Could they not read through Mahadev's deceit? To live in abundance, excess and surfeit? To feel in the loins and in the stomach at beat? An inflaming kind of desire concrete? And yet give it all up? And yet give it all up, everything forfeit, for some stagnant eternity with boredom complete? This did not cut ice with the Devs, who wondered what all this fuss was that came snaking into their vicinity to disturb their peace and their tranquility. Sure enough, they shooed him away. To the humans and demons he then made his way. And there he had his full say and sway. As they listened wrapped in curiosity to the reptiles' tantalizing verbosity, hypnotized by the hooded sway of words, they felt in their veins and sensations strange and stirring awkwards. Chorus, Vivek. Oh, the flesh, it has its own will. From its confines, the Sabbath wants to swill over and flow in its own quest across times, multiplying and creating as it twirls and twines, consumes and spills with pleasures sublime. What lay curled in the base of the spine, in the stomach spit, in the roots of the vine, dormant, supine, uncurled like a spring, it raised its head. What followed was an orgy, unprecedented, a feast and a carnival, unmitigated, leaving its spoils all around for Mahadev to discover, sure and sound. The surface of heaven grotesquely scarred, with dirt, seed and shit blatantly marred. Mahadev's wrath, their act incurred in the form of a curse, irreversibly dispersed. Off they were all hounded to a place called earth, enmeshed in the cycle of death and birth. The demons and mortals lay forth their case and blamed the snake who lay at its base. The snake was duly summoned from his sleep. Into Shiv's presence did he slither and creep. Into the nether world was he cruelly cursed. but he was not to be so easily dispersed. To justify his unruly act with the egg, he argued with Mahadev. Till the last leg, and fair and square, he won his case and managed to slide out of a strait of disgrace. The curse could not be reversed. The curse could not be reversed. And so Mahadev, in compensation, this clause reimbursed. The snake would have a double existence. The netherworld he would inhabit for subsistence, but Shiv's neck he would adorn as his true inheritance, and sway his head in his sublime presence. What, you ask, was the snake's argument that swayed Mahadev into this judgment? The snake simply said that the egg showed the way. Deep passions and desires did it bring in its sway. He merely shared it with the others in the fray. They would have refused, like the Devs, and stay in heaven, sing, dance, and perpetually pray. But no, they plundered and ravaged, looted and lusted. What? While he, merely the egg, pure statistic. O snake, O king, O Nagaraj, you dwell in the deep pits in the earth's entrails. On your head the earth's orbit rotates on its trails. O you dweller of the dark underworld, your hood in heaven's heights unfurled. Such is the paradox of love, desire, and sexuality. The snake has to be given its due. So, dear friends, adieu. The sun is about to set. The red glow streaks across the rippling waters of the Jamuna, touching the embracing rivers as the waters lap and swirl in a love play. And the whirlpools suck into a dancing vortex. The cobra slides into the tangled roots of the Akshay Vat. Out there, on the river sands, the plywood Neelkant, sitting in Padmasana, stands etched against the sky. The snake curls lovingly around his sky blue neck. That was from Storyteller's Rhymes, which was the last volume. I know it is difficult. Poetry, as I said, was difficult, but thank you for being patient and listening to this particular